This camera looks like it's got a face. Can I make its face even more angry looking? And this camera looks like an owl. Can I make it look even more owl-like? And what about this water tank covered with asbestos? Can I turn this into a baby? And can I do all of those things using just a single text prompt? This is a test of how well computer programs can interpret images and interpret your prompt and actually generate the thing you're asking for. And it is crazy what some of these computer programs can do. Now, a year ago, I made a video about artificial image generation. And in a year since I made that video, things have moved on so far that I've just got to make another video about the subject. So let's begin. So in this video, I'm going to be talking about what tools are out there and what they are capable of. And some of the things you can now do is crazy. But before I get onto that, I'm first going to have a bit of a rant about the media. Because when there's something new like this, the media just does not know how to report on it. When there's something to do with technology, so often the media just cannot grasp it in their reporting. And they report untrue facts and a real lack of any insight into the subject. And as well as crap like a Daily Mail, I'm even talking about a BBC. I have conversations about the dangers of AI and stuff. And there is issues, especially if fake images can be passed off as being real. That is an issue. However, there is no grasp on how you deal with that. Usually a media just goes on about, isn't it terrible, which is no solution at all. And to be honest, you can't stop these tools. You can't stop progress. The society will have to work with the fact that fake images are a lot easier today. The other thing that annoys me around this subject is the name, artificial intelligence. I fundamentally disagree with that name, as it implies the computer is now being intelligent. A computer is a tool. It is something that is programmed to do a task which you need it to do. What is intelligent is the people that program the computer. The fact that there's now the skills out there, people are able to create these tools, is something amazing. The programmers are intelligent, not the computer. And I'd argue that the latest tools are not in fact something new, but are instead the evolution of the computer. Computers have progressed so much from when they first came out to the present day. And even though things in the present day are progressing very quickly, I disagree with the idea that this should be given a new name of AI. And with the latest trends around the term artificial intelligence, lots of people seem to think that to mean that the ultimate end goal of the evolution of computers is for computers to become conscious. And I fundamentally disagree with that. Even if that was possible, which it isn't, it would still be completely morally unacceptable. But the fact that people even think as an acceptable end goal or something positive, such a degrading viewpoint, and it is so dismissive of human life. We have consciousness, and that is something special. And the idea that somehow a computer could have consciousness, as well as being wrong, it shows that our society is at a real low for the amount of contempt and disregard to the importance of what our consciousness is. So then, for the last part of this rant, it's about the viewpoint that these new image generation tools will de-skill. Now, when graphic design on computers first came in the 80s and 90s, the same sort of things were being said. Companies thought they could no longer use artists, as they could now do everything on computer. And it turns out they couldn't, because they still needed actual real-world professional artists putting in their hours of work to create stuff. Computers didn't provide an easy shortcut to it. Then, the exact same thing happened again in the 2000s with word art and clip art. And oh my, what a cringy decade that was. When you get professional companies creating these cringy pictures for their professional businesses, when children such as myself were creating the exact same imagery, it just made those companies look unprofessional. Word art and clip art was a trend, but eventually companies realised how unprofessional it made them look. Then fast forward to one day, it's the same thing. We've got these new image generation tools, and for the moment, these seem amazing. They're creating stuff that no one would have thought possible that a computer would create. But the issue is, if you can simply type something and generate an image in a few seconds, you are not doing something skillful yourself. This means that if you're a professional company and you're creating the exact same images that a child could create in a couple of seconds, your professional company will look no better than what a child could create. If you still want something special, you still have to put the actual real world hours into creating something. For example, on one of the games on my website, I actually had professional artworks commissioned for this game by a professional artist, and I feel having work that's created where actual real world hours and skill from an actual person went into creating it gave the game an extra special touch to it. It made it stand out. It looks far better than any quick program could create. Nothing could ever take over from actual artists making actual works. So with that said, how should these image generators be used? And the answer to that is as a tool. Not as like a quick shortcut to creating something, but as part of the creative process. For example, when I created the fake sponsor for the Cowpat Burger Company, while the initial image was created with an image generation tool, I then edited it in an image editor to get the image to how I wanted. The things flying around the burger were snails. What? That is very weird looking. So I had to blur those out. Then I used the image editor to add loads of flies in. Then I added the logo. So I was still putting in actual effort into this image. So it wasn't the image creator alone which created the end result. So then, that's the rant over. Let's now talk about what the latest generation of image generation tools can do. And it's not just images. There's now video generation tools. And that just shows how far things have progressed. This is crazy. And while these tools aren't there yet to make a full movie artificially, it does show what direction things are going. Let's take a look at some of the videos that I managed to generate. You can see it's full of defects, but it's still got a lot of features to it which seem to work. Just think that years ahead you could make a full movie of this stuff. That is scary. So then, let's now talk about how things have improved over the last year with regards to image generation. So, with my video, The Posh Twats of Milan, I wanted to generate an image to illustrate that I had a brown jacket which I used as an URBEX jacket because I thought it was ugly, and I later found out the jacket was worth a lot of money, but I only found it out after I had ripped it. Look at these images that it generated. These images already feel very out of date considering how much things have improved over the last few months. It just couldn't generate a jacket with rips in it. No matter how hard I tried, it just wouldn't do it. And this is the best I was able to get. The jacket looks dirty but not ripped. This was generated on DALL-E 2. Then DALL-E 3 came along and the quality improved like crazy. This is outstanding. When this came out, I just didn't even know what to think. Like, I thought DALL-E 2 was good, but DALL-E 3, and this here's the Bing edition, the quality for a generated image is crazy, and it's finally put the rips in the jacket. And on this image, the jacket's ripped, except the jacket looks like it's made of asbestos. That's weird. So, talking about asbestos, on one of my fake sponsors, I actually had an image of a child holding asbestos. I'm now going to show you some of the images it generated while I was picking the best one. And some of these images are bad. Look at this one. Asbestos dust everywhere and he's standing in it barefoot. Oh, that's a lot of asbestos. Then there's this one. It looks like he's holding onto a brick. And then I put in child eats asbestos. And oh dear. Oh dear. And this is one of the scariest ones it did. He's kneeling in the asbestos. So then, let's now take a look at some of its DALL-E 3's other capabilities, such as the amount of detail it can put into bunkers. And just look how much detail there is to this. It's got all of the equipment on the walls, it's got electrics everywhere. This is so detailed. This looks like a proper deep level bunker. And then there's also some other image generation tools, such as Perchance. And on this image generator, notice that the results are not as good as DALL-E 3. You can see its bunker is not as detailed, but it's still better than DALL-E 2. Now, this image generator has a special feature which none of the other image generators have, and that is no censorship. And when you've got a tool like this with no censorship, people are going to be generating some controversial stuff, such as Donald Trump as a monkey. And this is one of the best morphed images I've seen so far. I'm going to do a section later on in the video about morphed animals and morphed human animal. And they're very intermittent on how good they are. But this one is one of the best I've seen. And it's Donald Trump as a monkey. Like, what else can you really say? And then you got Donald Trump as a pig. But this morphed image is not as good, as it doesn't have that perfect morph blend. A good morphed image should have that sort of blend where all the features are mixed in, like it just works seamlessly. This one more looks like the pig features are more sort of stuck on Donald Trump's face, meaning it's less real looking. And then, talking about controversial images, you know, if something's got no censorship, you just can't resist typing some of this stuff in, especially when it's the Prime Minister. Rishi Sunak smokes weed. Oh dear. I just couldn't resist this one. Rishi Sunak joins the Nazis. What the fuck? It's actually generated that really well, scarily well. And then there is whoever the fuck is meant to be Rishi Sunak with a knife. And then Rishi Sunak joins a terrorist group? Oh dear. And then getting very political, a statement about Rishi Sunak and fox hunting. And what about politicians fighting? Like the other tools would not let you put in named politicians fighting, but this one does. Rishi fights Boris. Yeah. Then let's try some other politicians. What about Nigel Farage with a very strange lizard? And the next image about Nigel Farage is one of the weirdest ones I've seen so far. I actually asked for something completely different to this, but the image it generated, oh my. It looks like Nigel Farage crying over a dead child. What? Oh, that is weird. So then, let's test out the different image generation tools and see which one is the best. And for this, I'm going to be generating the same prompt every time, which will be the classic URBEX view, sitting on a roof of a skyscraper doing a leg dangle. And the reason why I've chosen this view is because in last year's video, the tools really struggled with this view. It seems like it's quite a challenge for them to create it because of the amount of perspective involved and understanding the prompt. So let's test this out. So we start off with DALL-E 2, which cannot do the view. It gets stuff like this, but the perspective is a bit off. And even for a scene like this, it takes many attempts, with most of the images being wildly incorrect. There's also a new tool called URBEX, but this one cannot do the view of directly looking down. This is the best it was able to generate. Then there is Crayon, and this tool feels quite amateur compared with the others, and this one simply was not able to generate the view, and this is the best it got, but most of the images were wildly wrong. And then there is ArtBreeder, and the quality of the image on this tool is excellent. However, it gets everything in the wrong place, with most of the results looking like this, with random legs and shoes everywhere. However, the view of the skyscrapers in the background is very nice looking. And then there is the best tool out there, DALL-E 3. This is the only tool that fully gets the perspective correct, generating really good URBEX scenes like this, with the viewpoint correct, person's doing a leg dangle over the edge of the roof of the skyscraper, and the buildings below look great. DALL-E 3 is the best tool out there. And then there is Perchance. And while it takes many attempts to get a good image from this, with most of the images looking very strange like this one, it does manage to get some of the pictures looking quite nice, although a person sitting on the roof near the edge but not doing a leg dangle. But the scenes it generates still look very impressive. And this picture here was the closest it managed to get to fully doing a leg dangle. And with that said, the reason why I often use Perchance over DALL-E 3 is even though DALL-E 3 does better images, the amount of censorship is so heavy it makes it unusable. For example, when I was making this fake sponsor picture for Pooland, I wanted the people to be sprayed with brown liquid, but it just refused. It said it was unethical. So in the end, this is the best I managed to get, but I had to spend over an hour editing the picture in an image editor to turn the water from white to brown. So then, now for the fun part of the video, morphed animals. And the reason why I like doing morphed animals is it really pushes these tools to the limits. So it's taking two different animals, mixing them together to create an animal it's actually got no training material for. So this is a test of how well it can combine two completely separate, unrelated things. Let's start off with one of the ones it really struggles with, and that is a human dog. Half human and half dog. For some reason it struggles. It manages to do Donald Trump monkeys, but it can't do half human, half dog. I find that really strange. And this image here is the best I managed to get it to do. This one's pretty good. It's got human features and dog features to it. But most of the time this didn't generate it at all. Or it generated things like this, which is not a good blend. It looks more like a person wearing a dog mask. So So then, let's now compare these generated images to an actual real life image. This is a sculpture created by an actual artist of a human dog, and notice how much more detail has gone into this. As well as it being more scientifically accurate, the artist has also put their own creativity into creating what they wanted to create, and from this you can see that anything made by a real artist will always be better than computer generated pictures. Now let's take a look at cross between a pigeon and a horse. If you remember on last year's video, DALL-E 2 could not do this, but DALL-E 3 can. And oh, that is a good pigeon horse. Very creepy looking. This one's also very good. And then there's this one. These are actually quite scary. But this image is the best one. This is the best pigeon horse I've ever seen. And here is a spider seagull. Considering how wildly different a spider and a seagull is, this image I feel is very impressive. And then the headlouse sheep. Again, two animals which are very different from each other, and it's perfectly managed to make a morph between them. And here is another headlouse sheep. That is a scary looking animal. And then there is the human sheep. And this is actually one of the few human and animal morphs that has actually come out quite well. That's actually a very good human sheep. Then we've got a swan rabbit, which is kind of more rabbit than it is swan. And then there is a daddy long legs rabbit, also known as a crane fly rabbit. That is so creepy. And then there is the millipede rat. And I'm amazed how well this one's come out, considering how different a millipede and a rat are. This done it so well, I did not expect it to look that good. Then there is the rabbit fox, although it's not that much rabbit in it. And there is the anteater capybara. And this one I think's come out very nicely. It's actually got both animals perfectly blended into that. Then you've got a lion hippo. That one actually looks very good. And then there is the cow hippo with someone riding it. And one thing you get a lot of when trying to generate these morphed animals is push me pull yous. It often seems to have two heads to the animal rather than head and tail. The next thing I'm going to show is animals in human scenarios, such as a monkey flying a plane and a lion flying a plane. It actually took many attempts to get these generated correctly. And now for a slightly different idea for a morph, which is a fictional scenario. What if Neanderthals were still alive in the present day? Now, Neanderthals are a species similar to a human which went extinct a very long time ago. All of the training material for Neanderthals will be of artist impressions of Neanderthals of how they lived before modern times. So this is testing how well the tools can blend those images with how they would live if they were still alive in the modern day. And I managed to generate images like this, which are pretty good, although I'm not sure if these are that accurate. I feel these should look very slightly more Neanderthal-like. Then the tool Crayon, which normally does not produce anything good at all, actually surprised me with how well it managed to generate this scenario. So then, it's now time for the weirdest, most bizarre part of this video. As if the things I've shown you already aren't bizarre enough. It gets so strangest, because as well as image generation, there's now tools online that edit images. And the edits are so strange. Now I want to start off by showing you this camera. This is a face recognition camera thingy. Bit spying really, it's quite privacy breaching. This is in a university and I took a picture of it. Now I'm going to say something which is a construct of my imagination as a person. This camera looks like an owl. Now in real life there's nothing owl-like about it, it's just a camera. However, because I am a person with an imagination, I can understand a concept of seeing a link between a camera and a bird. Two things which have no link between them. What I want to know is, would a computer program understand that concept? Because that is something that computers generally would not get. So this tool here, you can actually open up pictures and edit them, and it's got a lot of different settings on this. You've got things like compute steps, how many times it goes over it to edit it, then guidance scale, how close this fits to the criteria. Low guidance scale makes it more photographic, high guidance scale makes it closer to what you say. So this is all a compromise. As well as that, you've got modes, default and realistic. Default I find generally does what you want a lot better, but realistic makes it look more like a photograph but less what you ask for. So let's start with default for now, and I'm going to describe this image in words. A photo of an owl. That's all I'm going to say. Will it understand that? And this slider called image strength literally says how much it should edit the image. So let's keep it with a very slight edit, and I want to see what it will do. Holy shit! It understands the construct. This is literally a construct. It doesn't exist in real life. This is a human imagination concept. Yet a computer program understands it. It sees the similarity between a camera and an owl. Now if I crank down the slide a bit more, let's see what happens now. Oh yes, it's looking a bit more owl-like. Holy shit, let's crank it down a bit further. Fucking hell. How does it do that? But it's something I found on this which is even scarier. Who remembers this camera? Oh, it looks angry. It's the angry face camera. Well, will the program understand it? I think it looks like, well, it's a spying face recognition camera. So it's like a security guard on a pole. Let's say a security guard. And let's keep the lightness very high up to start with. Maybe a bit. Let's crank it down a bit further. Oh, oh my. It actually understands it. A computer program understands that the camera looks like a face. It grasps the concept. And that is scary. Computers seem like they're taking over the world now. Oh dear. When you look at the initial image, I can see how it looks like an angry face. It's just scary a computer program also sees it. So I'm now going to show you some of these which I did earlier, and some of these are so creepy. The face expressions it gives this camera is really weird. And then there is this one, which looks like a religious person. That is weird. Okay, what else could we turn the camera into, I wonder? A seahorse. No, I don't think it gets that one. Maybe that's a bit too abstract. You know what I always think cameras look like? Often they look like guns, so let's see if it can turn the camera into a gun. What the fuck? What the fuck? Oh dear. Okay, let's try another image. Now this one I tried earlier and I want to see if it will do it again for a second time. This is asbestos in grain fort. And just as a joke, because I've got a rather silly sense of humour, I decided to put in a baby eating asbestos. Because I was thinking maybe it would generate a baby eating the asbestos off of this water tank. Rather than making a baby eat the asbestos off the water tank, it actually turned the asbestos into a baby. So I can get down a bit more and you can really get to see it. I don't know how it can see a water tank with asbestos on it as a baby. Okay, this is the stuff of nightmares now, and this is horrible. How does it even come up with this? This is the scariest thing I've seen in a long time. And the images get worse. Look at this. There's asbestos all over it, baby, with a giant eye. How does it do this? This is so horrible. And the next one. That is bad. I don't even know what to say to this now. So then, the next image I'm going to alter is this picture of my friend in an under construction tunnel on the HS2 railway, which is currently being built. Let's see if I can edit the colour of his clothes to make his clothes a more brighter and more interesting colour. Person in an under construction tunnel. Then I now put a comma and say what I want changed. Wearing bright blue top, green shorts. Now let's see if this will improve the picture and give it a bit more colour. It's kind of done it, like it's made the person's top blue and the shorts green, but still very dark. So let's crank down the image strength, and also I think I need more computation steps on this. So it's added another person behind, and the picture's got a bit blocky, so let's try change this to realistic, which will make the picture a bit more photorealistic, but usually it doesn't follow the prompt as well. And you can see it's done it, but it's changed the tunnel a lot. The tunnel looks a bit different now. That's kind of done what I requested. Slightly less guidance, go on slightly more computation steps and see if that does it. It's very intermittent. If I take the image strength right down, often it will start doing something very random now. It will barely use the base image. Actually, that one has actually done it quite well. It's pretty much what I asked for, although it's made the image a bit blocky. So I put it back onto realistic mode to see what results I'll get then. And the tunnel has changed colour. Not just the person, but the tunnel itself. That is quite odd. So then, the next image I'm going to try is this picture. This is me wearing a gas mask at Matthews Equestrian Centre, also known as Chabs United Fire Centre. Let's now see if I can change my top from being orange to purple. So I type in a person wearing a gas mask wearing an orange top. And let's see what results I get. And the gas mask has changed. That is very strange. I've not seen a gas mask like that before. Okay, it's made the inside of the top purple but not the outside. And notice the abandoned building in the background has changed completely. Changing a lot. Like, that's a very unusual looking gas mask, but it's not quite doing what I'm asking it to do. And the abandoned building's no longer Matthew's Question Centre, it's some other trash building. So here's some more images it generated. You can see it's changed the gas mask a lot in some of these pictures, but it still hasn't quite done what I asked for. It hasn't made the top purple. So then there's a lot of things which it cannot understand the concept of. For example, an escape pod on a tunnel boring machine. This is the original picture. This is tideway tunnel boring machine. This is where all the workers would have to go if the tunnel were ever flooded. Does that make it think it's some sort of submarine or some sort of spaceship? Because every alteration I try to do to it, look at the front of the pod. It looks like some sort of spaceship. I guess the pod does look a bit space age-like. So then, one concept I find these image generators really struggle with is looking directly down a skyscraper at the view below. I can do skyscraper roofs, it can do scenes of skyscrapers, but it can't look straight down. For some reason it struggles with that, maybe because of a lack of source material. So here is a picture of my friend climbing up the outside of a skyscraper in Benidorm. Now, if I use this as the base image and get it to edit it, maybe it'll overcome the issue that it doesn't understand the concept. So the first thing is to describe the picture as accurately as possible so it understands it's a looking down view. So the prompt I put in is a looking down view over the edge of a skyscraper roof with a teenager climbing the outside. Well, that's actually done that pretty well. It's made a few changes, a few bits look a bit more blocky. The skyscraper doesn't look as tall as the original. It's 43 floors. On the updated one, that's not as tall. And also it seems to have changed his face a bit. I can't show you what his face looked like originally due to his privacy, but it's very interesting which parts of the images it changes and which parts it keeps the same. Let's now move the slider to increase the amount of alteration. And it's now doing some quite strange things to it because it seems like it doesn't quite grasp the concept of looking down over the edge of a skyscraper. It now looks like he's kind of floating. That's not so accurate looking. That one looks a bit better in the sense the skyscraper looks a bit taller, but there's a few more defects on this one. And then on this one, there's even more defects. So then, let's now try this again, but this time on a different picture. This is a picture of the rooftop of the skyscraper next door. And for the prompt, I changed it from teenager climbs the outside of skyscraper to teenager stands on the edge of skyscraper. And this is what it generated. Notice it's removed his hood. Also, the building on the left, which was the skyscraper one previously, it's now made it look a lot more blocky. Then if I increase the amount of alterations, it's now changed the colour of his clothes. And it's also given him ginger hair. And the next image I'm going to do is this one. This is of a council tower block in London. Now on this view it's not looking directly down, it's looking kind of sideways, meaning it should be easier for the programme to understand what's going on. In this picture you can see the URBEX is once again wearing very dark clothing. Let's try and get him to be wearing some more brighter clothing. And this is the image it generated. And it's done it surprisingly well actually. That's probably one of the best alterations I've seen. It's kept the city view, it's kept the tower roof looking the same, it's added a camera because he's an URBEX for taking pictures of it, and it's changed the person what he's wearing, which is what I asked for. This is actually the most accurate alteration I've seen so far. So back to Benidorm. This time let's do another rooftop view, and this one let's also do it sideways rather than looking down. So this is a scene across Benidorm. Somehow in all the edits this program did, it doesn't seem to understand he's standing on the roof. It seems to change it to like he's staying on some sort of parapet. So it hasn't grasped what the roof is. It's changed the perspective of it. I said it so he'd be wearing a bright green top. It's kind of done a bright green top. It's kind of edited his existing top, making part of it green by keeping a pattern to it. On this particular picture, it does look a bit more like Benidorm. And there's this one, where he's now got ginger hair. He's no longer in Benidorm. He's now in some small-scale, shitty little village. What? It's meant to be Benidorm, not some little shithole. But it's quite interesting what alterations it's done. And let's now take a look at Mau Rau. Now, I wasn't expecting this. It actually seems to grasp the concept of what Mau Rau is. How does this tool know what Mau Rau is? That is quite surprising. Like, it's changed it a lot. The railway tracks are gone. But it's kind of kept the theme of the place. And this one's also very good. It looks like some sort of deep underground bunker. And Mau Rau is a bit like a bunker, so that's pretty good, actually. Then I asked it to do a big alteration, and this is what it did. It's kind of kept the theme to it. It's like got railway tracks, but it's industrial. That's actually a really nice image. The next one is the construction railway in Tideway. This is a narrow gauge, little tiny railway to serve the tunnel boring machine. It seems like this program doesn't understand what a tunnel boring machine is. It doesn't even understand what a narrow gauge train is, because it's made the train much, much bigger. And that's kind of understandable, because there isn't really much in the way of narrow gauge trains. It makes sense that it would think it's a big train, even though it isn't. And then bus surfing. Can I get an image of someone surfing a bus? The answer, no. These programs seem to have no grasp of what bus surfing is. Like, it's kind of like bus surfing, but it's just not accurate at all. And then it did this image, which is completely inaccurate. Then I was seeing if it could finally understand what a car top of a lift is. All of these image generation have no idea what lift car tops look like. It seems like there's no car tops in the training material. It gave it its best go. Then I realised it thinks the chassis of this lift is one of those shipping container crane things. Look how small it's made the person. It's like he's standing underneath one of those travelling cranes. It's turned the chassis into a crane. That is so weird. Then I tried another lift car top. This is of a nice big Mitsubishi. I managed to get it to add a person into the picture. It's kind of got the size of a person correct to the chassis, because there's a huge chassis on this lift. Except the car top below the chassis is completely incorrect. It's changed it to like it's some sort of... Again, it's turned the chassis into some sort of crane. This looks like one of those travelling cranes in a building. Don't know what this is, but it's no longer a lift. So then, let's go to an abandoned building. This is Orders in Chatham. And I tried to get a program to add someone wearing a gas mask into the building. However, it's done some very strange things. In the first picture, it's added a door in the background, which is a bit weird. Then, if I continue to increase the amount of alterations, it makes the building look more and more trashed. It's like what abandoned buildings are like when more and more urbexes visit and it gets more trashed over time. And now it's properly trashed. It looks like copper thieves have been in the building gang scrapping it. That is weird how it increases the building's trashness. Then on the next picture, it's a completely different building. What's happened to Orders in Chatham? It's now somewhere else. Although it has now finally added the people in gas masks. After reducing a guidance amount, I managed to get to generate this picture, which has turned Orders in Chatham into some sort of military shop. That's strange. And now let's try Tesco's in Chatham. This is the original image. Let's see if I can add some people to it. And it's added a person. And for these pictures, I've requested orange top and blue shorts. And it's actually got the clothing accurate this time. Then on the next picture, there's now only 2 lifts. It has got rid of one of the lifts. I did not expect it to do that. And in the next picture, it's on the Tideway tunnel boring machine. And here's my friend holding a giant spanner. Now the image editor changes it. And notice it's changed the wall on the left from being a round tunnel bored wall into being a flat regular wall. It now looks like it's no longer standing in a tunnel boring machine, but now standing in the boiler room of a building. So then I changed the prompt to see if I could turn this scene into a bus. And it's done it a little bit. Notice the windscreen in the background. If I increase the amount of alteration, it now actually looks like he's standing on a bus. And it's also got rid of the spanner he was holding. And finally, here is a picture of a bunker. On this one, I tried to add a person to it. And it changes the bunker quite a bit. And this bunker is Chancery Lane Bunker in London, which is a pristine underground bunker. But notice in the edited image, it makes the bunker look trashed. It's like the software doesn't understand the concept of a pristine bunker, as it assumes URBEX sites must be trash locations, which is kind of weird and ironic considering that most URBEXs only go around trash locations so they can't go to any better. Meanwhile, I'm actually going to proper pristine locations, but the software doesn't seem to comprehend such a thing exists. So then, that is the end of the video.